On Monday, 380 sheriffs representing 40 states announced that they had sent a letter to every member of Congress calling for legislation that includes President Trump's border wall. Joining us now for reaction is the sheriff who spearheaded that letter, Bristol County, Massachusetts Sheriff Tom Hodgson, and also Jose Aristimuno, who's a former deputy press secretary for the DNC, is in Miami. Jose, I thought you were going to be here in studio with me. Now you're way over there in Miami. What fun is that? Now it's good to see both of you. Let's talk about this issue. It's a sticky issue. It's a controversial issue. But Sheriff, let's start with you. 380 sheriffs. Now there are a lot of sheriffs across this country, but that's not an insignificant number, saying the border wall is necessary. But we got congressmen and senators in Washington who say sensors and partial double fencing and other technology, drones, that will be enough, along with additional manpower, to secure this border, sir.
Well, first of all, these are people who are sitting in Washington, spend most of their time under the dome there, who have little knowledge about what's happening on the border and what the terrain is and so forth. Look, it's going to be, there are going to be some cyber things. There'll be some visual posts. But the wall is absolutely critical to keep people from getting into this country as easily as they're coming in now. And they've been flooding in by the thousands, as you know.
Jose, I want to go to you on this. DeRoy Murdoch, a few years ago, columnist for the New York Post, wrote a piece listing the illegal aliens who were caught at the border. And this was back in the year 2015. And we're not talking about Mexicans or Guatemalans or Salvadorans. We're talking about people from countries that were labeled by President Obama as terror havens. And this is what they found. This is in 2015. Border Patrol detained from Iran 154, Sudan 81, Syria 57, and from Cuba, then designated terrorist country, 2,281. And then countries of interest included Afghanistan, Algeria, Iraq, Lebanon, Libya, Nigeria, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, 276, Somalia, 131, Yemen, 71. This is a national security issue, is it not, at the border?
It's a national security issue, Lauren, but we have to be clear on something, and it's this. The only way that we're actually going to solve this, the only way that we're actually going to get the real criminals, we got to deport them. And let me be clear, anybody in this country who's undocumented, who has committed serious crimes, they need to be deported. The way that we do that is by passing comprehensive immigration reform. Let's actually get the undocumented immigrants who are good people. Let's get them out of the shadow, okay? Let's put them into our system, and that would actually allow people like the sheriff to actually go after the bad guys.
So
that's the way we got to do it.
Yeah, so you're saying the people who are illegal immigrants today in the United States are in the shadows? Because I see them at rallies, I see them at protests, I see them at congressmen's offices, I saw them at the State of the Union. I don't see a lot of people in the shadows. They're outside at Walmart, they're getting jobs. I mean, they're working, some are DACA members. DACA recipients. So there are a lot of people who are not in the shadows any longer. They're not really, most of them I don't think are all that afraid of being deported, are they?
Well, look, they're certainly in the shadow economy, even though they pay taxes, right? But they can't participate into.
Jose. Come on.
Well, a lot of them do, but a lot of them do, though. You know that a lot of them do.
A lot of them do. Jose, I think you and I would agree that a lot of employers are abusing these immigrants. They're taking advantage of them.
By paying them very little money.
They're
Absolutely, by paying very little money.
And they're endangering the lives of illegal immigrants crossing the border because they think they can get a job. That's endangering their lives. I'm going to go back to the sheriff for a moment. Yeah, we'll go back in 1 second. Look, but, Sheriff, you heard what Jose said. What we need is comprehensive reform. This wall thing is a big waste of money, and it's not, people will climb over any wall you put there. Your reaction?
Look, you'll never have comprehensive immigration reform until you deal with the security issues at the border. It's not going to happen. And by the way, this idea of people coming out of the shadows and you need them to report crimes, that's a false narrative. But more to the point is, you have people who are pro-sanctuary saying, bring these people out of the shadows, give them a protective bubble so nobody can identify who they are, particularly if there be criminal illegals in there as well. And then at the same time, you got Becerra out in California saying, you law-abiding citizens, you business owners, if you dare to cooperate with ICE and work with law enforcement to keep your communities and your businesses safe, we're going to prosecute you. So we want you to go into the shadows and not report anything. It's outrageous and it's ridiculous and it's completely un-American, and it undermines the sheriffs and all the other law enforcement community across this country when we're trying to keep people safe.
Jose, I think one thing that Americans can't get their minds wrapped around California is such a beautiful state. It's an amazing place. And I took the California bar years ago, wanted to live there, love the state. But it's an odd thing, is it not, when business owners who are paying a lot in taxes, a lot of regulations in California, they're actually made out to be the bad guys when they cooperate with ICE, or they simply report to ICE, or they allow ICE to come in and examine their workplace. I mean, they're the bad guys. And then the illegal immigrants who are released back into society, they're coddled, they're protected, sometimes to go and maim or kill or rape or commit other crimes again. So that's the dynamic. I think people who aren't even political think, wait a second, are they on our side, American citizens and legal immigrant side, or are they on illegal immigrant side?
Look, I understand the debate, but you don't fix that by building a wall that it is a waste of money. You fix that by actually passing some sort of reform into the immigration system. And let me say something on the wall. I'm talking about what the sheriff. Well, let me speak, Sheriff. Like, with all due respect, let me just finish my point here. And something that you said. Under President Barack Obama, we put more boots on the ground than any other prior president in the history of this country. So we've been trying to do this. We've been trying to actually secure the border, and Republicans time and time again don't keep their end of the. They don't keep their end of the promise. They don't keep their end of the promise, and we don't get anything done.
I'd like to play a soundbite. This is Brandon Judd from the Border Patrol Council, who was on our show last week. Let's watch.
I just finished my shift a couple hours ago patrolling the border. I speak with hundreds of agents on a daily basis, and all of those agents are telling me we need walls in strategic locations, and we're going to prove that we need those walls.
Those are the guys actually with the boots on the ground, Jose. They're there. And he said there are literally parts of the border you can just walk right across, right near the Rio Grande. You just walk right across. There's no barrier. There's just a bunch of, tumbleweeds, I guess, but there's no barrier. He'll just walk right across, and they do. It's a national security issue and an economic issue and a humanitarian issue, all wrapped into one.
I agree, and there are better ways to do it. There are better ways to do it with technology, with drones, with people on the ground. We don't need to waste money on the wall. And you know what? Let me say one more thing on the wall really quickly. Instead of building a physical wall with Mexico, I got an idea. Why don't we build a cyber wall with Russia? That's the real threat, not Mexico. Let's look to the other side.
I love the fact that Jose, I've got to say, I'm actually going to salute you for getting the Russia reference in. That is that's like a camel sit spin, like in a triple Lutz and a backflip on the ice, all combined. Sheriff, last word quickly.
Laura, while we're talking about different parts of the world, just look at Israel. Look, they have a combination of cyber stuff. They have balloons in the air. They have watch stations. You have to have a combination of things, but we have to have a wall. And this idea of just create comprehensive reform is not going to stop people from coming through. I've been on the border now 3 times, and I watched from an aerial surveillance a guy in the middle of the day take a yellow raft. He's halfway across. He hears the plane up above, looks up at us, scurries back over, and he was going to be back over across that border as soon as we left. And this goes on every single day.
I thought you were going to say, Sheriff, that he looked up and waved and said, "Hi, I see on the other side."
Well, he did, but he didn't use his whole hand when he waved.
I got you. Sheriff Hodgson,
Jose,
it's great to see both of you. Thanks so much. Have a great Easter weekend.